So one of the issues in the so-called Doomsday Cult Mom Lori Vallow case is money and financial status. We know that she's in jail right now. Bond was set at $1 million, has not been able to come up with the money. You know, maybe if bond gets lowered, maybe she can make it. But what exactly is her financial situation? How about Chad Daybell as well? Are these folks, floating in money? Do they have access to a lot of money? They were down in Hawaii when she was apprehended in a nice neighborhood. So what exactly is going on there? Let's bring in Chris Spargo, senior reporter for the U.S. Sun, who has been digging deep into this story. And there's a lot of depth to it. Chris, thanks so much for joining us. Should we be surprised that Lori Vallow-Daybell, the wife of Chad Daybell, the renowned author and so-called leader of the 144,000, can't get the money together to get out of jail?
Really is not that much of a surprise to us now, but we're finding out when these problems kind of started now through these new court documents for bankruptcy that she filed back in 2005. And a lot of people miss them, it seems, because she wasn't Lori Vallow then. She was Lori Ryan and was newly divorced. And at first glance, these documents sort of seem like any other bankruptcy thing. She was a single mom at the time. Tylee, her missing daughter, was 2 years old. Her son, Colby, was 9. She had a lot of expenses, and it kind of looked just pretty, on the surface, like a normal sort of bankruptcy case. And then you start digging into these documents, and there's some shocking revelations.
All right. Well, the first thing, how about where she was living? It looked like she had a really nice house there in Texas. I think we have like an aerial of this shot. She owed about $580,000 on this house. It's a beauty, sprawling in Texas. I feel like JR might have been living there. So what sort of revelations did you dig up in these documents?
This house, for example, this is a 4,500 square foot house on 3 acres of land that they bought new. They were the first people to live in it. And she owed $580,000 on it. The house was worth about $710,000, but a huge, massive estate. At this time, she was very much about her image. We know she was competing as Mrs. Texas in pageants. She also drove a Chevy Escalade, a very expensive car that was costing her about $15,000. She actually owed more on the car than the car was worth at the time she filed these documents. And then, she owed a lot of money to the IRS. She had an $80,000 tax bill, which is a little odd because she said in 2003 she didn't work. In 2004 and 2005, she made a combined total of about $45,000. So not really sure where all that tax money came from.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at those numbers and I saw the $580 for the house, $16,000 for the Chevy, and then there were 2 different tax problems. The $80,000 plus another $19,000. She owed almost $100,000 in taxes. You know what else was interesting? Looking at her income, and she listed herself as a hairstylist, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she said she was a hairstylist. She'd taken time off, it seemed, that the year that Tylee was born, but she'd gone back to doing that again. She said she was making, decent money at that, a little less than $4,000 a month. And with the $1,500 in child support, that was giving her about $5,200 a month. Now, this is where things start to get a little interesting because most people, $5,200 is a good deal of money to most people, but she was saying that was far below her monthly expenses, which she laid out, and they were pretty shocking when you go through them for someone who was filing for bankruptcy.
Yeah, it's interesting because she is not wealthy. Like she doesn't come from money, I don't think. It just seems to me, just seeing the way she is and the way she acts, she, like as you said, is trying to put on a show for everyone. That she is this, well-to-do person who has this extravagant lifestyle, and I'm beautiful, and I'm Mrs. Texas, and I'm all these things, and I always have my movie star sunglasses on. How about Chad Daybell? When we started learning about Chad Daybell, I was like, okay, he's an author. He's published 20 books. I'm like, all right, some authors really wealthy, some authors not so much. Which category is he in?
I mean, the not so much. He and his wife also had to file for bankruptcy in 2008 for the same reason. He was actually initially a gravedigger when he first started working, and then at some point he said he was just sort of spoken to and decided it was his calling to write these books. And obviously, we know from Lori's family members saying that as she sort of became more fanatical, they grew closer together. And then, in the past 2 years, their relationship, whether it started before or after she was divorced, heated up. But the two of them seem to be very, very much into having material wealth and to really spending it, it seems, as soon as they get it. I mean, they had this money reportedly from Chad's wife's life insurance, and the first thing they do is take off for Hawaii, and they rent this, gorgeous little pad in Hawaii, and they're going out all the time. And it just seems like there's like no real responsibility for them. It's just, this sort of free-for-all living for them.
Well, Chris, why would you save money if the world was going to end in July?
That's a good point.
Right?
She does believe that she's leading everyone to New Jerusalem. That's true. That is very true. She believes that the demons are out to get her and that she's going to leave everyone to this new place. So you really can't take it with you. So she is really, she's really taking advantage of it while she can, although she's not spending too much money these days. So that's somewhat good, I guess. Although Chad's probably playing a lot for legal defense, it would.
Probably should have saved some of that money from the Hawaii trip for either bail or for the legal defense here. So, Chris, I mean, you've covered a lot of stories. I mean, put some perspective on the layers in this saga that we all are following compared to some of the other stories you follow. How different is it, and how difficult is it to try to peel the layers to figure out exactly what's happening and why it's happening?
I mean, I think it's safe to say this might be the actual this certainly the craziest case I've ever covered in my entire life. I mean, it is. So we initially started off with the missing kids, which it seems to be that the kids are probably okay. We don't know that completely, but there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency you see in other cases. There was just Gannon Stouch in Colorado. Saw police every day having that very urgency, like to find him. So it doesn't seem to be like that. But then there's other things. Chad Daybell's wife, who we thought died of natural causes, now they're examining that again, and they might be charging Chad and Lori. Her fourth husband, Charles Vallow, who was shot by her brother. Now they're looking into that again and seeing if they might want to charge them. And her third husband, Joseph Ryan, who filed in these bankruptcy documents with her, in 2018, he suddenly died as well. She didn't tell his family for over a month. His family found out because they needed a next of kin to do something with the body. He was found a week after he died. Just very sort of callous behavior, which she also exhibited with her fourth husband. And she's again under investigation for that one now. So a possible suspect in 3 murders, plus the missing children, plus these very, very strong religious beliefs that people are demons out to get her, and these sort of rites of passage people have to pass in order to make it into her sort of level of this cult where she's going to lead people to this new city. It is a lot of crazy behavior. And on top of all this, she might be getting out of prison pretty soon ahead of her trial. She's going for a bail reduction, and they're also trying to argue that coronavirus is making it impossible to do their job as lawyers. They have to go through so many steps to get her documents. They're saying it's not fair and it's violating her rights. So there's a good chance she could be, while under house arrest, out free in about a week.
Wow. I'll tell you what, Chris, this is a full-time job. I know you cover other stories, but this sounds like it's going to be a full-time job for at least the next couple of years or so. Chris Bargo, senior reporter for the U.S. Sun. Awesome to have you with us. I hope you come back.
Thanks. Thanks so much for having me.